doing? Oh, hang on. You know what I forgot? Here we go. I did. I just said I was going to start my captioner, and then I did not do it. So hang on. Let me get that. There we go. Fiona, Yancy, how are you guys doing? Bite Mark, welcome, welcome. Gigi, hey, thank you so much for stopping by. We do have a giveaway going. If you guys are interested in the giveaway, there's information on that in chat right there. You're welcome to join. But most importantly, you guys, we have a guest tonight. I am super excited. She is here with me on camera. And, oh no, hold on. I might have to.
Hello, Fiona.
Drag this
I am
down.
actual pro.
Yes, she is actual pro.
Sometimes I'm an adult.
All right, so this is, tell me how to pronounce your last name.
Climis.
Climis. All right, I was going to say Climis. I'm glad that I asked. Although now you know
okay.
how I was going to
and
mispronounce
millions
it.
of other people.
My last name is pretty difficult to pronounce also. So Elizabeth is a marriage and family therapist. She lives and works in Massachusetts. She has a BA in psychology and an MA in marriage and family therapy. She's been doing in-home therapy through nonprofit agencies for the past 7 years. And her work is primarily with children between 3 and 21 who are experiencing a wide range of mental illnesses. She also received training in, and this is something I did not even know existed, so I'm really excited to hear about it. She received training in trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapies. Oh, she's a little quiet. Okay, hang on. I will get you, I'll get you turned up.
Do I need to fix that, or do you?
No, let me see if I can fix it for them.
Cool.
Hang on. Volume mixer is what I want. All right, let's see how that is.
Hello.
Okay, that's...
Is it good?
Is that better? Yes, she says yes, please yell. There we go. I didn't even know that trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy was a thing, so I'm interested to learn more about that today with you guys.
Yeah.
And works to help her clients and their families process their trauma in a safe and healthy way. She's also a gamer. Yay! Hello! Who got started early with board games and discovered a whole new genre of gaming in college, first joining Dungeons & Dragons Club and then getting into video games. She loves all things nerdy, works to bring these passions into her work as a clinician. Oh, don't hit buttons, cat. I swear. Using video games, Dungeons & Dragons, board games to teach social skills, communication skills, and practice managing emotions. This cat, I swear.
I love
Process
that cat.
high, by the way. Okay, good. Yes, Tyrion is here to help. Absolutely here to help. So y'all, we do have a queue open as well. If you have a question for our guest today, just type exclamation point Q and then follow it with your question, like the letter Q. And follow it with your question. That'll put it into a question queue and we'll get to it after. We do have some questions lined up to begin with, but I am super excited to have an actual pro here with us. And I even did a little there. Normally I have to do this one. Normally I have to do my not a pro command.
Am a pro.
Am a pro, yeah. That's my work wife.
Is my work wife here?
Mrs. J.M. McCarthy? Does that name mean something to you?
Hi, my darling. That's
Super.
my wife. We share an office.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, you are going to have to get down, little mister. Okay, he'll probably be right back up here. But that's okay. All right, so we're going to open up with perhaps the most important question of all. Why don't all dresses have pockets?
I actually know the answer to that.
Oh, let's hear it.
So, back in the day, like super old-timey times, women's dresses did not actually have pockets. They just had like a slit on either side, and you wore your pockets underneath with all your layers of petticoats and all that jazz. And they were huge. Like, I'm talking like you had like man pockets. And then dresses got to be less full and fluffy and voluminous. So they like, you had to keep those slim, gorgeous lines, and pockets full of stuff ruined that. So then they decided that women didn't get pockets, instead they had handbags. Well, now they make tons of money on handbags, and they don't want women having pockets. Am I allowed to make a small plug for a company that I love?
Yes, absolutely. Go for it.
So eShakti is an Indian company that does really great dresses. They have like hundreds and thousands of billions of dresses, and every single one of them has pockets, and I love them.
Nice. I like it. So I use a clothing subscription. One of my things that I tell them is, if a dress has pockets, I will probably buy it.
Yes. I just used Stitch Fix for the first time, and they sent me this really cute dress, and they were like, we're sorry it doesn't have pockets. I was like, well, I'm not spending $40 on it then. Okay, bye.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, dresses with pockets is one of those things that I seriously, if someone compliments me on my dress or whatever, I'm like, oh, thank you. It has pockets. Look how much stuff I can fit into them.
Yeah.
Oh, Fiona says, can we get a fuck old timey times though? Because man pockets aside, sexism. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, yeah, no. Fuck old timey times, but like, pockets were the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that was, I'm glad that you actually had a history of pockets and dresses. Because that is really interesting. I didn't realize there was an actual reason. Kitty.
Yeah, I mean, I may not be 100% accurate, but like the gist is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, when I was in grad school, one of my classmates called me Snapple Facts because I just had random things about everything.
I love it. I love random facts. They're wonderful. Okay, so what is your favorite video game? And then what is your favorite board game?
So my favorite video game right now has to be Stardew Valley.
Oh,
I just love it. It's so good. It's so relaxing and chill. And I just, like, I go and I fish for, like, a whole forever. And I pet my cows and my chickens. And I make millions of dollars on mayonnaise. It's just so good.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Stardew is great. Yeah. There's a dress with pockets D&D item. Okay.
Yeah, I found that on Pinterest, and I have saved it to one of my boards for just in cases.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Stardew is great. Yeah. I haven't played it, but I've watched people play it, and it seems really interesting.
It's so good. It's very relaxing. Like, I accidentally stayed up till 3 a.m. playing it once because it was just so chill, and it was snowing, and I figured I probably wouldn't have work the next day, and it turns out I didn't, which was really good because I stayed up till 3
in the morning.
Stardew.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So what's your favorite board game? You mentioned D&D and board games and video games. So what would be your favorite board game?
So my favorite board game, and I actually had to talk to my boyfriend about this last night because I was like, I mean, I know my favorite video game, but what's my favorite board game? And he was like, what about Meeple Circus? I don't know if you have played Meeple Circus. It's so fun. You have little meeples, and you have little cards that like tell you what you're supposed to do with your meeples, and then you build a little circus out of them. You like stack them on things, and like if the certain colors are off the ground, you get points, and if there are certain colors on the ground, you get points, and then there's a little app that plays circus music for you to listen to while you build your thing, instead of just having like an egg timer. It's like, here's your circus music, build your thing. And then like there are various tasks. Like there's one where you have to as you're building your thing, every time you place a figure, you have to go ta-da, and then like do the next thing. Or like you have to, every time you place something, you have to like clap and place and clap and place and clap and place. and then you get points off if you didn't do the thing the right way. It's so fun, and it's a great exercise in frustration tolerance. It's one of those things. I really like to build games like that into my therapy stuff. If you're familiar with like Pandemic, Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, those sorts of things where you're it's you against the game. There's actually a really great kid version that my sister-in-law told me about. It's called Hoot Owl Hoot, and it's Candyland style, where you pull a card and you get a colored card, or you get a sun, and you're trying to get all of the little baby owls home before the sun comes up. Kids don't need to know how to count. They just need to be able to move the little owl to the next available space of that color. And it really helps to like teach, hey, there's not always just one winner. And sometimes you don't always win, and it's okay to lose, because we're all losing together. So I actually played that today with a kid who was super excited because we were one sun away from losing, and then we got it.
That's really cute. Okay. Hello, cat. So that's video games and board games. So what is something that you love, and what is something that you hate about D&D?
I hate rules lawyers, because there are so many fun things that you can do, because it would just be really cool. And then the rules lawyer comes in and is like, no, you can't do that. Gygax says. I really love how creative you can be, though. And I have a really great DM who his rule is the rule of cool. If it's cool, he'll figure out a way for you to do it, which is awesome, and it makes it really fun, because whatever you want to try, you can try it. And it could go horribly wrong, but it could be great.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to be able to like have that flexibility of, oh, I had this great idea. Can I do it? And he's just like, if you can tell me how, sure.
Right. That is, I feel like that's a much better way of playing than here's all the things you have to do. And we're not deviating from that, because, you get to deviate in life. Why don't you get to deviate in a game?
Exactly. And it's a fantasy game. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? It's magic.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. Oh, okay, we have a link for Meeple Circus as well. So,
excellent.
Pretender Isaac, thank you so much for posting that link. Okay, so given that gaming disorder has gotten a lot of kind of playtime lately in the press, is there something that you find that's inherently bad about loving to play games, and is there something inherently good about it? Kind of both sides of that coin.
I don't think that there's anything inherently bad about it. I think that, yes, it can become an addiction, just like anything else. I mean, when we talk about addiction, we're not just talking drugs. We're not just talking alcohol. You can be addicted to food. You can be addicted to sex. You can be addicted to anything that you can enjoy, you can be addicted to. If your enjoyment of something like video games has gotten to a point where it's actively disrupting your life, then it's a problem. So like if you're drinking on the weekends, okay, whatever, you're an adult, you can make that choice. Once you start drinking during the week to the point where you're like hungover at work the next day, or still drunk at work the next day, or you're getting DUIs or whatever it is, then it becomes like, then the drinking of alcohol is a problem. Same thing with video games. It's awesome to play video games. It's fun. If you're getting to a point where you're like, you're sitting and playing and you will not get up to go to the bathroom, you would rather soil yourself than get up to go to the bathroom, that's a problem. If you are stealing people's phones, if you're stealing technology in order to get your fix, that's a problem. And so we really have to look at it more from a, when does it become a disruption to your life versus when is it just a fun thing that you're really enthusiastic about? Because I played Stardew Valley till 3 a.m. and you know what? It it was fine because that's not my everyday life. There are definitely times where I'm going to spend too much time playing video games. And at the same time, it's not disrupting my life. It's not causing me active harm.
Right.
And I think there are so many great ways that we can use video games. I mean, in order to play a lot of, MMOs or like, I've had kids who are really into Minecraft. Great. That's fun. And it's a creative outlet for them. And they'll go on and they'll play for hours. But they're also playing with their friends who are at their houses playing.
Yeah.
So it's still, you're not playing, like, you're not getting face-to-face time, but you're still having that social interaction. Kids playing Fortnite, you have to communicate with your team to win. So you've got people who are, building these great relationships with strangers. Or, you're working on your communication skills. You're practicing those skills without realizing that it's, like, therapeutic. It's like sneaky therapy. And I think
sneaky therapy. Oh, I like that.
I love sneaky therapy. I love, like, taking kids for a drive and then just, like, talking to them and, like, because you're not looking at them, you're looking at the road, and then they just start, like, word vomiting, and you're like, oh, really? We should talk more about that with your parents. But, like, getting kids, like, use the things that they're interested in to develop their skills is awesome. And I think the best way to do that is for parents to get involved. Because I just saw something recently, someone was talking about, like, back in the, 50s, Dad would go play catch with his son. Well, now, Dad doesn't go play Fortnite with his son. Dad's like, oh, you're on the video game console too much. You play too much video games. And it's like, why don't you just watch? You can watch, you can join in. There are so many games that are very family friendly and that need even, like, in-person communicate. Have you ever played Overcooked?
I have not, but I have heard that it's an interesting...
There's a lot of yelling involved.
Yes. Yeah.
and the more people aren't paying attention to each other, the more yelling happens. But if you have good communication with someone, you're golden.
Yeah.
And that's something, like, my boyfriend and I love to play that and Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, because it's all about, like, yes, you're playing a video game and it's super fun, but you're also communicating. You have to be able to create a plan and go, okay, you're going to do this job. I'm going to do this job. Wait, we're doing bad job. Okay, you go take care of the shields. I'm going to go do this. And, like, you have to talk to each other to be successful.
Yeah. Okay, we do have a couple of questions from chat. So Fee asks, can you get addicted to not dealing with your anxiety?
I don't know that I would call it addicted to it. That would be avoidant behavior. And I think that we can get really set in our ways. I have anxiety myself. I spent a lot of time today not thinking about this. It was great. But we can get stuck in a pattern of avoiding, and that can be detrimental to our own well-being. I had to admit to myself that, like, hey, guess what? You got a fucking problem. Things are not great. You just had a breakdown because your boyfriend's friend came to visit and say, hey, right after you moved in and boyfriend wasn't here. That's not a reason to have a meltdown. And yet there I was. And I had to go, you know what? That's not normal. That's not healthy. I need to do something about that. And it's coming to terms what's healthy for you and what's not. And we get very stuck in our patterns, even when they're unhealthy.
I think that's a really good way to put it. Okay, we have a couple of non-related questions, which I will get to, but I want to get to this one that is related first. So are there persons who are more likely to become addicted to gaming? Hey, Chucky, by the way.
So you know what? I don't know. And I think that there's not a lot of research. And that kind of sucks because in general, there's not enough research when it comes to psychology as a, when we talk about the various forms of evidence-based practice, like you can list them off on one hand and not use all your fingers. And that's a problem because we just don't have the research. Cancer, yeah. People are throwing money at cancer and going, research it, find the cure, we're going to do this. When you have depression, people go, oh, have you tried being happier?
Oh, God,
you should exercise. You know what would work? Go outside. You don't get outside enough.
Yes.
Feel happier and you'll be fine. But we don't look at it and go, wow, people are killing themselves because they don't feel good. They feel so bad and so worthless that they would rather be dead. And rather than going, we should probably research this more and figure out why it's happening and what we can do to help, they go, man, that's sad. Yeah, that's sad. But cancer, though, or like, but heart disease, though.
Yeah.
And I don't want to minimize those, like, I don't want to minimize other diseases. It's that those are visible.
No, you're absolutely right.
Those are very visible diseases, and mental illness is invisible. And yet, this may come as a shock to y'all. Your brain, it's a physical thing, and it's a part of your body. Your mental health is physical health. And we're really, like, just barely getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, we just got to the part where we went, you know what? We're going to get everybody using the same medical codes for everything. So, like, I, as a therapist now, when I'm diagnosing people, I'm using the same diagnostic codes that a medical doctor is using. I mean, not like I'm not, diagnosing you with medical things because I don't know how to do that. But when I say, hey, you have depression, I give you a code, and that bills insurance and all of that. And when a doctor looks at that code, they're going to pull it up in their manual and go, oh, that's major depressive disorder, single episode. Super cool. We're all speaking the same language now, and that literally happened within the past 5 years. And that's, that's a problem.
Yeah,
because how long has mental health been around?
Right, yeah. We were just, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, we just talked about kind of the tie between mental health and physical health and emotional health, and how those three always work together, and how it's becoming more and more recognized that, oh, by the way, like, your mental health actually does matter. And if people are if they get more attention to those mental health issues and really get them taken care of and get them taken care of in the right way, instead of just kind of brushing everything off, then, oh, by the way, you take fewer sick days throughout the year, kind of thing. So
And your physical health impacts your mental health, and your mental health impacts your physical health. They are tied together. There's no separating them.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I've got a pretty good example that just happened to me that I talked to my therapist about last week. And I said, I was really upset before I went to bed, and I decided I was going to just read. I got really upset about something. I went upstairs, laid down in my bed, and I was just like, I'm just going to read until I'm tired enough to go to sleep. I told her, I said, I woke up the next morning just feeling like complete crap. Like, my stomach was hurting, and I was so really tired, even though I slept for an abnormally long amount of time. And she said, well, part of that is that you slept for an abnormally long amount of time. Your body's not used to that. It's something different. It's throwing you off. But the other part is you got really upset, like, your emotional state was bad, which triggered a physical response, and then you went to sleep without dealing with that physical response. She said, next time, just go for a walk or whatever, let your body get some of that adrenaline out and get everything taken care of, and that way, you won't wake up with a stomach ache or anything. So I love that you are validating some of the things that
Smart
that we've talked about, and then some of the things that I've talked about with my therapist, even though we haven't talked about. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question from Chad is, what's the best way to defend video games as a healthy outlet to those who think that they are a waste of time? Thank you for that, Alex.
Sometimes it's hard. And I mean, it's even hard for me because I walk into work and my coworkers are going, but video games are like, my kid spends too much time on those. And I'm like, yeah, so do I. It's fine, guys. And I think really pointing out like, hey, yeah, I'm spending a lot of time on video games, and this is what I'm getting from it. This is how it helps me. And if people aren't willing to accept that, then that's a them problem, not a you problem.
I like that.
I mean, there's only so much that you can do when you disagree with someone or when someone disagrees with you. There comes a point where if they're kind of being a jerk about it, you may have to go, you know what? Stop. We're not going to talk about this anymore because I enjoy video games and they make me feel good. And I don't like that you're making me feel bad about it.
Yeah, I like that too. I know as a people pleaser myself, one of my issues is that it's really, it can be really hard for me to say like, all right, so I've explained to you how they're helpful to me, how they help me connect, how they help me expand my social connections kind of thing, how they're a little bit of like avoiding the real world kind of thing sometimes. I get that, but...
So's reading.
Oh, exactly, yeah, right. And so...
Why do you think I read fantasy novels?
Yeah, I know. Well, like I binge read on my phone. I read like a book or two every couple weeks. And... But, you get to a point where you've explained that to somebody and they still aren't necessarily getting it, right? Mm-hmm. And so kind of my first response is to say, well, it's at that point, I just kind of stopped talking about it. I'm like, this is something that I just can't talk to you about. So it's nice to hear you say that becomes a them problem and not a me problem. I can see that being a little bit difficult in practice for me specifically.
That's okay.
But that's something that I can work on within myself. So,
well, and here's the thing. This is very deep secret in the therapist community. We give great advice. We don't take our great advice. So, like, there are times where my wife and I will sit down, hey, girl, and I'll be like, oh, my God, like, this thing is such a problem. And she goes, just do this other thing about it. And I'm like, that's a really good idea, but no. No, see, I don't need you to therapist at me. I need you to just be like, yeah, that sucks. And so like we can call each other out on that. And it's a very therapist-y thing that we'll sit down and go, oh, well, I know exactly what you can do about that. Here's a solution. And we go, yeah, no, I told my client that solution last week and no, I'm not going to do that. No.
Yeah. And I think, I'm sure that is not limited to therapists at all, because even whenever somebody asks me for advice or, if I give them advice, not in a therapist situation, because again, not a professional over here. You can see the little tag up there. She's the pro.
Yes, a professional.
She's the pro over there. But, I'll tell them something and then I'm like, okay, but I just didn't do that the other day.
Girl, we've been there. We all been there.
I know. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Dungeons & Dragons really quick, and then we're going to go to another question. So, what is your favorite Dungeons & Dragons class to play?
Okay, so in college, I was always a stabby rogue, because stabby. And it was super fun this weekend. I actually got a couple of my coworkers hooked up with my DM so that we could all play a game together so they could learn what D&D was. It was very fun, and I decided to build the rogue. It's fun to steal stuff and stab people from behind. But I have gotten really into this barbarian that I've been playing. Her name is Ragna Ullensdottir. She is a like super badass Norwegian Viking thing. And I've never played a barbarian before, so it's super cool to be a tank and just murder everything all the time.
I was creating a character in... Oh, what game was I creating a character in? Now I can't remember. Torchlight? Was it Torchlight? And I was like, I want to be like the biggest baddie. Can I be the biggest baddie?
Sometimes it's fun to be enormous and powerful.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, give me just a second because my kid needs to know, hey... Okay, now he's walking away. He has poison ivy, and he put on calamine lotion, and he came over and he was like pointing at it, and I'm going, what?
Great job. You did it.
Go ask Dad. I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to do. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Oh, okay, so here's another D&D question. Do you watch Critical Role or any other D&D shows or podcasts?
I don't watch Critical Role. I probably should because I love those guys. I go to like all of the no, I'm sorry, not Critical Role, Clinical Role.
Oh.
Slightly different. Have you heard of that?
I have not. I have heard of Critical Role.
Clinical Role is a bunch of nerdy therapists playing D&D. They're all
I love that.
They're like the guys who run Take This and Bodhana Group and like all those cool things that you may or may not have heard of. Great nonprofits that do gaming and therapy. But they all play a game together, and it's super cool. I actually am a huge Taz fan, The Adventure Zone, by those good McElboys. So.
All right. Okay, so this next question leads into one of our questions that we've gotten from Chad as well. Why do you do what you do? So kind of what interests you about mental health? What inspired you to get into this field? Kind of why did you pick the specialty that you picked?
So, I went into psychology because when I was in like 8th grade, one of my friends was going through some shit. And she was like, I'm going to be a therapist. I'm going to go become a psychologist. And I was like, great, cool. We're best friends. I'm going to do that too. Because previous to that, I wanted to be a potter, a teacher, an artist. I wanted to be everything. And then I went to college and I started studying psychology. Wow, this is the coolest thing. And I just got really into it. And senior year came and I went, oh God, what am I supposed to do? So I went to grad school. And I didn't really know what I was supposed to do, but I was like, it's family therapy. Like, I come from a family with some issues sometimes. Like, that sounds great. Let me do that. There's a state school that I can go to and pay practically nothing. Like, I'm almost done paying for that. Still paying for undergrad.
Oh.
Yeah. So I wound up, 2.5 years in there, and it was time to look at an internship. And I got a little late on that because anxiety. And I wound up finding one internship opening at a partial hospital program at a hospital. And they worked with adolescents. I worked with the teenage group. So the 14, I think it was 13 or 14 through 18. And it was great. They're the worst. Teenagers are the worst, and I love them. Here's the thing. I will say mean things about my clients. Like, I have a client who's a total asshole, and I love him. I love him dearly, and I love how snarky and obnoxious he is, and if he were nicer, I would still love him. But, like, him being an asshole is the thing that I love about him. I love working with teenagers. They're pains in the butt, and I get it because I was a pain in the butt. And they're going through so much shit, and it's okay. And being able to, like, look at my own teen years, which were tumultuous because I was a teenager, and go to other kids and be like, hey, you know how this sucks right now? It's fine. It's okay that it sucks. It'll get better, and I'm here to help you through that. I did not realize I wanted to work with teenagers, and then I was like, oh, wait, I nannied all through grad school. I was a third grade teacher's aide in undergrad. I worked at a summer camp in college and grad school. My internship was with kids. I kind of like being around kids. And so here I am doing, adolescent-focused family therapy. All of the nonprofits that I worked for have been, our clients are technically the kids, but we work with the whole family. And we do systems theory. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. Yes, no, maybe.
I would love for you to go ahead and explain it.
Okay. Systems theory is the idea that one person is not the problem. if you think of a family as a mobile, if you are holding everything still on a mobile and you're just batting at one thing, it's not going anywhere. If you start, hitting one thing, everything else is going to start moving around it because they're all part of this family system. And so if you are going, hey, that angry teenager who's like running away from school and refusing to go to school and swearing at their parents and doing drugs, they're the problem. It's like, oh, they're doing it for a reason, though. And what's the reason? Oh, their parents are like on the verge of divorce. That kid is a symptom. And if I cure that kid, well, guess what? One of the parents or another sibling who's involved, because, if there are more kids, like the one kid who's been fine, well, I fix one kid, that other kid is going to lose their mind.
Right. Because
they are all acting as a symptom of this bigger problem. And so the system theory is that a family system is a contained unit, and each individual that has a problem is a symptom of the family problem. And so we address the family as a whole, and we use that kid as like sort of our door in. We go, oh, okay, your kid's a disaster. We'll work with them. And also, you're kind of a mess too, and we're going to make everything okay.
I like that. That's good. Okay, so we do have a question from chat here It's Gigi. What's your advice for those wanting to get into working as a mental health clinician? She says she's currently working on her bachelor's in addiction and recovery and worried about work after school and getting more involved.
So, try not to get discouraged. I'm super excited that you're working on your bachelor's. Great job. Keep at it. Don't be afraid to get your own help. It's hard for us to admit as therapists that like, we could probably use a little therapy too. And so don't be afraid to, ask for help when you need it, but also just talk to anybody that's out there. Find out where there are people doing recovery. And, get as much information as you can. Figure out what you want to do with it, and just go for it. Do not get discouraged if you don't get the first job you apply for. I literally applied for 50 jobs when I first finished grad school. I got hired for 1. I got out of 50 places, I interviewed for 2, and I got 1 job offer. I had a spreadsheet and everything, so I kept very good track of just how many I applied to. It was exhausting, and it was really frustrating. And it's okay that happens. Don't get discouraged. Everyone has their own stuff that they're going to have to, get through to get that great job. But just follow your passion. Just keep doing it. And if you don't know what to do next, don't be afraid to ask your professors. Don't be afraid to ask your what are they called when you have I've been out of college too long. You have the person who tells you what you're supposed to be doing.
Your advisor?
That.
Yeah.
Don't forget, don't be afraid to talk to your advisor about that and say, hey, I'm really interested in doing this thing. How do I do it?
I like that. So she said she's been quite discouraged because a lot need masters. I'm already so far in debt that I don't want to keep adding to it. And that, I will say that I'm not in mental health, but that is the primary reason that I have not gone after my master's, is because it is so expensive.
Okay. Pro tip. A couple of pro tips. 1, go to a state school. It will be cheaper.
Yeah.
I got loans, and my parents helped to pay $30,000 a year for my undergrad because I was a dumbass and wanted to go to a private school. It was so fancy. And I love that school. I think it was a great place for me. And also, I will pay for it until I die. The other thing, not just a state school, but if you go into a nonprofit, there are actually loan forgiveness programs. So if you do income-based repayment, you pay based on your income. So like when I first started working, they were like, hey, cool, you owe us $600. And I was like, that's my rent. Oh God, I haven't gotten paid yet. And that's my rent. That went down to about $200 when they went, oh, you don't make any money. Which was much more reasonable and affordable. The other piece is that I'm working on, I have worked now 7 years in nonprofit, and each of those years, had I been doing this from the beginning, counts as time towards loan forgiveness. So after 10 years of working in a nonprofit, I can get my loans forgiven. Not all of them, but most of them. There are a couple of things. I don't remember which kind. It like one of the loans, like private loans, don't get forgiven, but a lot of the government loans can get forgiven through that.
That's great.
And so if you're able to work in a nonprofit setting, or like research that stuff before you get that debt, and some places will pay for you to go to school. So like,
I like
get that money. Yeah. Get a bachelor's position, and then be like, hey, so would you pay me to get my master's degree? Because that'd be great.
That would be awesome. Okay. So another question from chat. This is from Faye. She says, do you have any recommendations for someone with anxiety who's trying to normalize talking about their mental health with people around them, like daily how are yous and such, and especially when talking to the older generation? It takes so much energy for me to smile and brush off questions like that with an, oh, I'm fine, things are fine, when it's not true. But I don't want to get into why things are tough, because that takes even more energy. She said, sorry, that was long. It's okay.
No, that's fine. It's a good question. And I mean, it's something I personally understand. There are definitely times where I'll go and be like, yeah, no, I'm great. Everything is fine. My supervisor comes to check in with me like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I'm still here. I'm still here. We're good. It's great. It's not great. I'm falling apart, but I'm still here, and that's okay. And so I think having people that it's safe for you to talk to, like my work wife and I will close the door, and I'll look at her and be like, shit went down. And she's like, okay, cool. Let's talk about it. And I have that person that I can dump things on, and it's reciprocal. I dump on her, she dumps on me, and we're all dumped all over everything. I can also talk to some of my friends and go, I'm not okay. And actually, I did this the other day. I have a group chat with a couple of my girlfriends, and I was like, I'm not okay. This is what's not okay, and I don't want to talk about it. And they were like, okay, that's fine. Being able to work on being that honest, and that was the first time that I'd done that with them, because I was still working on being that vulnerable, because it's being very vulnerable. But being able to like find one or two people that you can go, I'm going to try being vulnerable with you and see if I can trust you with that. And just give it a little taste and say, I'm not okay and I don't want to talk about it. The older generation, it's hard because a lot of them don't get it. They're like, well, why don't you just stop being scared? And it's like, well, I'd love to, but my serotonin doesn't want to. I actually have serotonin shoes. They're shoes that are watercolory, and they have serotonin molecules on them. And so I joke that, like, I don't have it in my brain, but I wear it on my feet.
I love it.
But, like, a lot of older generations, they don't get it. And that's okay. They don't have to. And sometimes you are going to have to just grin and bear it. And that sucks. It really does. It's not a good feeling for, grandma to come up to you and go, oh, honey, how are you? And you go, I'm great. It's fine. And grandma go, are you sure? And you go, yeah, I'm going to go get a snack. Sometimes it's going to be rough, and you have to sort of take it a minute at a time. If you can get through this minute of checking in with grandma and going, hi, grandma, I'm fine. How are you? How was your surgery? How are things going? Like, flip it around. People love talking about themselves. Hi. So if you can get them talking about how they're doing, it'll be great. It'll take that off of you, and you go, oh, I'm okay. How are you? How are you doing? A little bit of deflecting. I wouldn't encourage doing it all the time. But sometimes you just don't have enough spoons for that shit.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not have the spoons for it.
Okay, Kat, I get out of the way. Yeah, she said I've tried that with my parents. They want to talk about it, or they get really worried. I guess it's nice to have discomfort, to have the discomfort of grinning and bearing it validated. So I appreciate that. It's like the "how are you doing" thing. Yeah, I have a coworker who, she was a new employee. I wasn't really sure how much to share with her, but she sits right next to me. And now we have this thing where we just go, "Are you fine? I'm fine. Everything's fine. We're going to be fine. It's fine." And just like everything is fine. And that's kind of the signal of, yeah, everything's not fine, but we're like buckling down and dealing with it, and we can talk about it later. So
yeah, I mean, my office mate, my work wife, and I, we have a couple of catchphrases. It could be worse. And we say it very, very tongue in cheek of like, oh, well, it could be worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's garbage right now, but I mean, it could be garbage on fire. We also joke that like things are a surprise learning opportunity. So like shit went south, surprise learning opportunity.
Oh, I like and that.
It's not good, but it makes us feel better about it. And we have that. It's like we have that inside joke. So right. Like just like you have the, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. You're not fine, but you guys know that you're not fine, and just being able to share that
right.
quiet knowledge can be really helpful.
Yeah. Surprise practical experience session. Yeah. I like it. You have received a compliment from Slavoid about whatever is on your ceiling.
Oh, what? Oh, my tapestry. Yeah. That went up when we moved in. So I'm in a fixer-upper. It is a very fixer-upper. And that tapestry is hiding some interesting choices of graffiti and also of home repair that were not very well done, and I need to fix because whoever lived here before didn't do it right.
I like it.
But hey, it makes it look like the ceiling isn't going to fall in on you while you're sleeping in this great comfy bed.
That's excellent. That is probably a good confidence booster move. For sure. Okay, I've got a couple more questions. So after the recent events with the Atika suicide, how would you recommend helping content creators deal with the toxicity and mob mentality of the internet? And I don't know, are you familiar with what happened with Atika?
Yeah, I actually just found out about that the other day. It's hard because bullying is real.
Yeah.
And internet bullying is real. And people say really hurtful things. People say really scary things. And with the amount of doxing that happens these days, like, yeah, it doesn't feel good for someone to go, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you. Because they might.
Yeah.
And so being able to have a group of people that you can talk to, whether they are internet people or IRL people, if you have people that you can go, hey, so this thing happened and I don't feel good. I don't feel safe. Or like, I feel like garbage and I kind of want to kill myself right now. If you go on the internet and you go, hey, I feel like garbage and I want to kill myself. If you're on Twitter, I guarantee you're going to find 300 people going, do it. You should die. Well, guess what? They're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And their opinion doesn't matter. There are people out there who care about you. And it doesn't matter who they are. It really doesn't. If I lose all of my friends, well, guess what? I have a dog and she loves me. And if I'm not there, who's going to take care of her? She's already been abandoned once. She's my baby. She's my rescue. I can't be dead because then she's going to be dead. If you can find something that makes it worth sticking around, find that something. It does not matter what that something is. And it doesn't matter if that something is permanent. If you have to stick around because some video game you want is coming out next week, fucking do it. Great. You have until next week. Now next week comes, the game comes out, well, you better stick around or else you're not going to be able to play it. So you have a couple of days to stick around and play it. And then you find something else to stick around for. And if you can find enough things to stick around for, you don't have to have a permanent thing. It's not like, oh, well, I have to stick around because my parents will be sad. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't care that your parents will be sad, but boy, you really want that video game. Well, you got to stick around for that. And that's okay. Even if it's a short-term thing, if you can find something to stick around and not letting, and sorry, I'm a big old nerd, don't let the muggles get you down. I mean, there are going to be crappy people all over the place, not just on the internet. And if you can get people around you, if you can surround yourself with people in person and on the internet who genuinely care about your well-being, you'll do a lot better than if you try to shut everyone out. And I mean, it's really about building up a community for yourself.
Yeah, we've talked about social connections and their importance, and like even if it's just one thing, like having to play all the games that you just bought that were for $1 at the Steam summer sale.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, that kind of reminded me of something that you said just a minute ago that I wanted to comment on, but the 1 minute at a time. So with AA and with Al-Anon, if anybody's familiar with either of those two programs, that's something they're really big on, 1 day at a time. Like if they talk about it in the terms of sobriety, but it can be talked about with a lot of things. If you can get through the next day, that's great. If you can't get through the next day, just focus on getting through the next hour. If you can't get through the next hour, get through the next 60 seconds. You know, it's one of those. There's always this little bitty thing that you can narrow it down to for what can you tolerate, like what amount of time, and then just tolerate that amount of time again.
Get through 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And if you can get through 10 seconds 6 times, you did a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you. You're a fucking hero.
Yeah.
If you can do that another, 6 times, that's 6 minutes. Great job. You are here for 6 more minutes and you survived. You got through that panic attack or whatever. You did it. And it's really about breaking things down into manageable chunks.
Yeah, I really like that quite a bit. Okay, so Fee has another question kind of related to her last question about communicating. She said her partner is very unaccustomed to examining and sharing his feelings, so sometimes she feels like she can't share hers with him. Makes her feel more connected with him when we both talk about things, even if they're negative. He's also responded affirmatively when she's asked if he also wants for us to get better at communicating together, but it still feels like pulling teeth or like she's the only one initiating. Do you have any tools, suggestions, etc. for helping us both get better, for helping her to encourage him to initiate? And I'm listening to this question and answer also, please.
Homegirl, I'm not laughing at you. I am laughing at your question because I feel that. I have been in that relationship, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know the answer. One of the things that actually my sister told me was to a conversation topic. Just talk. You don't necessarily have to start with the feelings. Just talk about stuff. I read an interesting article today. Let me tell you about it. Yesterday I was, lying in bed with the boyfriend and I felt like connecting, but I didn't want to talk because I talk and so I said, hey, just talk, just say something, just anything. And he was like, I don't know. I was like, just literally anything. So he went on a rant about, a thing that was frustrating him. And I was like, yeah, okay. You know what? That's interesting. Have you thought about this aspect of it? And he was like, no. Okay, that's something else to talk about. And it was it wasn't even important. It wasn't like it was a big, huge, dramatic thing. It wasn't like, oh, I have these feelings. It was just like, I'm frustrated about this dumb stuff. And it's okay if that's what your thing is, because you're communicating. If you guys are big into video games, I very strongly recommend couples video games. Things like Overcooked, which is super fun and requires a lot of communication, like I said before, and also Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. And one that boyfriend and I discovered at PAX. I say boyfriend and I. Boyfriend discovered at PAX. Was Keep Talking and Nobody Explode. That's on Steam sale, like $5. Steam sale. I just bought it. It was super.
What was that one called? I'm sorry, I'm writing them down.
Yep. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
All right, got it.
One person is on a website, so you only need one person to actually have the game. One person is on a website looking at the bomb manual. One person is looking at the game where you have a bomb. The bomb has a timer, and you have to be able to communicate to each other without looking at each other's material. So, like, think of it like Battleship, but instead of trying to find out where their ships are, you're trying to go, okay, it's got 3 buttons, and like one is red, one is blue, and one is green. And he goes, oh, okay, does it have wires down here? If there's a white one in spot number 3, let me know. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, there's a white one there. Okay, great, now you're going to cut the wire number 4. And like the whole time you're trying to diffuse the bomb together with only the information you have, and you're sharing it with them, and they only have the information they have. And so you're trying to communicate it to each other and not blow up.
I like that.
It was super fun, and I was really proud. Boyfriend and I are very good at these games. We're very good at the communication games. And he found Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, and was like, so I keep reading things on Reddit about how this either solidifies or ruins relationships. I was like, okay, cool. So we're to break up tonight. Great. Yeah, no, I'm prepared. Turns out we are awesome at it.
Nice. So that game, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, getting a lot of love in chat. So that's good. A lot of fun to watch other people play. It's Gigi says that, oh yeah, I know this game, super communicative. Bomb defusal. Okay, so Fee said, it's always nice to know there's someone else out there with the same feelings I have. I like the suggestion to just talk about nothing at first. I feel like I should have thought of that because that's how I wrote my essays in college. Yeah, so just
Dangerous Space-Time is also on sale.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
Someone just
that one's also on sale. Oh, good. Oh, thank you, Bite Mark. Yep. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a second here to remind everyone to take a drink of water. We've been here for about an hour together. If anyone needs to get up and go to the bathroom, grab some snacks, whatever. We've been here for an hour. Stretch your arms, whatever you need to do. We're gonna keep going here. There's a bundle, she says, with the 3 mentioned and a few more. Oh, ooh. Yes. Thank you.
Wow, look at me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like I checked the Steam sale. I didn't. It just went, there's something on sale in your wish list. And I was like, bought it.
Yep, that's great. And then one more note real quick. I don't have alert sounds on, but I appreciate the follows and everybody who's here watching. I appreciate you guys being here. Okay, let's keep going here. We do have one more question. So I am having to change therapists because I'm moving. Are there any resources you could suggest that might help find a new therapist? And he's in Dallas, if that helps.
Honestly, it doesn't, because I'm in Massachusetts, and I know some therapists in Massachusetts, and I know some in Connecticut, and that's about it. But there are, and this is going to sound really silly, one of the resources that I use the most with some of my own clients when looking for outpatient therapists is Psychology Today. Their website has a therapist finder, and you can actually search by your insurance. So you can actually filter it by your insurance, by what gender you'd prefer, by what language you'd prefer. So like if you are a Spanish speaker and you feel like you can just express yourself better in Spanish than English, get a Spanish speaking therapist. You can filter that down and then just call people and see who has openings. And don't be afraid to fire your therapist. So like if you go to a session and you're like, you know what, we don't really click and I don't really like you, that's okay. Not every therapist is going to be a good fit for everyone. And it's totally okay to fire your therapist And if you're in Dallas and you're moving and finding someone else and they're not a great fit, you might be able to say, you know what? I feel like we're not really a good fit for each other, but I do want to still see a therapist. Can you recommend anyone? And they might be able to give you a referral to someone who they know has a different style than them.
I like that. That's good. I did have a therapist that I wound up firing. Part of it was that it was a while ago, and it was one of those, okay, well, insurance is only going to cover this certain number of sessions, and I went to like half of them, and I'm going, okay, we're really not getting along very well, and I feel like I'm not going to waste the sessions that I'm allowed with you. And I'm glad because, and I wound up not going to a therapist right after that, but now I have a new therapist, and she's wonderful, fantastic. Like, we click on multiple levels, and she's really easy to talk to. So definitely, if you don't feel like, especially if it's your first time going to therapy, if you don't feel like you're clicking with your therapist, that is a thing that happens, and you can just go to a different one. Yeah.
And speaking personally, we don't take it personally when you fire up. I have been fired so many times, and you know what? It's okay. I usually go back to the office and go, "What up? I got fired today." And they're like, "What? Oh, okay. Well, that's cool." Sometimes I'll come home and I'll tell boyfriend that I got fired, and he's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, no. I still have a job. It's just my client fired me."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's totally fine. We don't take it personally. I know that my personality is not going to mesh with everyone. My work wife is going out on maternity leave. Yay, we're very excited.
Congratulations.
Yay! I had nothing to do with it, but
I was saying
I
that to her because she's here.
Congratulations. But we were talking, and she's like, I have this family, and I need to find another therapist for them because, they're very particular. Mom is very much this kind of person, and she's like, you are the only person who's going to be a good fit for them. And that's fine, because she knows that no one else in our office is going to be a good match for them. It's not going to be as effective. So she said, I'm going to push for you to be the therapist. I was like, that's fine. That's cool. Whatever. But I also know, like, sometimes I'll get handed a case and they're like, here. And I'm like, oh no, this is not going to be good. Like, we're not going to get along. This is going to be really bad for both of us. Like, I'm going to do my best, but I feel like maybe this is someone else should work with them, because I feel like they need a different kind of person. And unfortunately, I'm not allowed to do that necessarily. But if the family says, hey, we don't like you, can we get someone else? We can do that.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so you mentioned, in your bio, you had that you are focused on trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. So we've talked about CBT being a good way to work through most issues almost every week. Like, that's one of the top recommendations and everything that I've researched.
CBT is great.
Just constantly. But it would be good if you could give kind of an overview of what the trauma-focused piece is, and maybe a couple of instances where that would be a good choice, if there are any, or if it would not be a good choice if there are some of those as well.
So TFCBT stands for Trauma-Focused Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. It's a mouthful. And I was actually really lucky to get TFCBT trained at my first job. And I worked with a kid who had been sexually assaulted. And they were a mess. They had all of the trauma symptoms. They were, they didn't care about sex anymore. It was just like, I'll sleep with anybody. I'll do any sexual thing with any old body, because what does it matter anymore? They had, depression and anxiety and the flashbacks and the nightmares and all of it. Their parent didn't get it. They were struggling with it. They were a brilliant kid, and they were failing at school. Like, they had gone from being an honor roll kid to being F's. It was ugly. And we did TFCBT with them, and I get updates occasionally from that mom, because I haven't changed my phone number. And every once in a while I'll get a text of like, hey, so-and-so finished high school, and they're, got this award, and they're going on to go to college at this place. And I'm sitting there going, holy crap, that's great. And so TFCBT is evidence-based, because CBT, but it's really, the evidence shows that it's effective for ages 4 to 18. Personally, I have found that it is effective with cognitively typically developing kids. Anxiety, depression, all of that, yes. But if you have a kid with an intellectual deficiency, or some sort of cognitive delay, it's not necessarily going to be the best fit for them. So if you've just got your generic kid who is suffering because they have experienced some sort of trauma, that could be a really good fit for them. And it's interesting because it's not just straight CBT. I actually pulled up, I'm going to use a cell phone for a minute. It uses a list format set of sessions. And it has the acronym practice. So you do your assessment engagement, but then you do psychoeducation, parenting with the caregiver, relaxation, affective modulation, so modulating your mood, cognitive coping, so the mental piece of coping, the deep breathing, the counting all of the things in the room that are blue. It does the trauma narrative, which incorporates narrative therapy, and then in vivo exposure, conjoint what is that? I don't even know. So you have a session where this kid has written their story. They have written what happened to them. And when I say they wrote what happened to them, like, you start with, I had this really bad thing happen and it was really scary, and now I'm here. And then you get into, okay, this guy touched me in a bad place, and I felt really yucky, and now I'm here. And then you get really into, like, if it's a sexual trauma, you're going to use the actual genitalia name. So he put his penis in my vagina, or she put her fingers in my anus, because it just makes it concrete. That can be really hard. And I'm really sorry if this is like bringing stuff up for people. It's hard stuff to deal with. And so we really get into doing that because it's kind of exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is slowly introducing someone to the thing that they're afraid of until they get through it. And so, I started one day with this kid and I said, okay, we're going to tell your story. So she told it and left out like the whole middle piece where the trauma happened.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's fine. Next week, we're going to talk about that middle piece where the trauma happened. And it was like, well, he touched me and I didn't like it. Okay, that's great. Great. Good job. You did it this week. We didn't talk about the scary stuff yet. We like walked around the scary stuff, and we would slowly walk closer and closer and closer to it. And one day, the perpetrator just kept that man, that guy, that person. And I said, we're going to name him now. And the kid like looked at me like, no, we don't speak that name. And I was like, look, I'm going to nerd at you for a minute. And I'm gonna quote Tolkien, fear of a... No, I'm sorry. Oh my God. Wow. Sorry. Nope. J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter. Wrong. Wow, wrong wizard.
Wrong wizard. Oh, I love it.
Fear of the name increases fear of the thing itself. And I said, you have given this person your power. By refusing to call him John, you have given him power over you. And I said, I just want you to think about it. And I came back the next week and I said, let's do it. Are you ready to do it? And she said, yeah. So we put his name in. all the places it was that man, that guy, him, we put his name. And afterwards she was like, I don't know how I feel about that. And I said, that's okay. Sit on it. We'll come back next week. Like this was like a 2-month process.
Right.
Like we spent several weeks, once a week, doing this, writing this story. And the next week she came back and she said, I didn't have as many flashbacks. I didn't have as many nightmares. And from then she was like, I'm calling him John. And he went by his name because it made her feel empowered. She didn't have to be afraid of him anymore because she wasn't afraid to say his name. And it was really that. We just slowly did that, put one scary thing in each week until we got this whole thing. And then we sat down and I read it to Mom. And Mom was like, nope, I cannot handle this. And it's like, that's okay. I'm reading it to you now because you need to be able to support your kid when she reads it to you.
Yeah.
And so Mom gets all those feelings out and, said, I can't hear this. And I said, that's fine. And I made a little note in the thing. I was like, tick mark here. We can't read that part. And then she said, you know what? I do want to hear the rest of it, but I don't want to hear that little piece. I said, okay. So we read that. And I just made a little tick mark at the other end. And, I talked to the kid about it. And I said, is there anything you don't want her to read? And she highlighted the portions that she was like, these are mine. These are private. And I said, that's fine. And I highlighted the portion that Mom couldn't hear. And, I said, is it okay that Mom can't hear this piece? And she was like, yeah, no, it's fine. And so we had, gone through this, learning all of the coping skills, all of the ways of managing the anxiety, the fear, the flashbacks, the nightmares. And by the end of it, she read her trauma story to her mom. And then we had a really beautiful destruction because they don't get to keep that story. Mm-hmm. That is a story that if they hang on to it, they can read it and go back and go back and go back. And they've already lived it once. They don't need to relive it again. And they don't need to revisit it every time they're feeling crappy. So I said, how are we going to get rid of this? And Mom and the kid looked at each other. They were like, we're going to light it on fire. We're just going to burn it. And so we went outside and Mom actually got a saint candle. And they used a saint candle to burn the story. And Mom got tweezers and everything. Was like, nope, no little tiny scraps left. I'm getting everything.
Nothing where your fingers are holding the paper.
Yeah, like any little scrap that wasn't burned, like Mom made sure it went. And for that, they were okay after that. Now, I've done it with other kids where, they go through it and she was a teenager. She was cognitively in a better place and a better emotional place to be able to talk about that stuff. I've worked with kids who are just little, like 6, 4, 5. It's real hard to talk about that. And so, we'll say, okay, we're going to do the trauma therapy. This is the best story they can tell right now. And that's okay. They're going to need trauma therapy again when they're a little older. And then at that point, they'll tell the best story they can then. And they'll keep doing it until they've finally unloaded that story to its fullness and they can really work through. I think that it is great. I have seen it work. Yeah. And if I can sit down and go, I know this works because I can point to a kid that it worked for, I feel good about that.
I think that's great. Slay, so you said something about it. I'm sorry if this is bringing up anything or offending anyone, but Slay said that it was the part about the wrong wizard that offended half the stream, and good luck.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I am ashamed of myself. There's so many wizards in my life. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here, I've got it's not unfurled, but I had the Harry Potter, Loot Crate for like 2 years.
Oh.
I have my Ravenclaw cred all here.
Oh, I love it.
I swear to God, I really am a nerd. I'm sorry.
I love it.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Well, you started talking about the putting the name to something, and I was like, oh, she's going to talk about Harry Potter. And then you said Tolkien, and I was like, wait, what?
No, I just fucked up. Now I'm going to go die.
I was
It'll
thinking,
be fine.
I was thinking maybe I forgot something.
No. No, I did. I had a brain fart. It's fine.
No,
it's fine. I'm going to go die now.
Everybody has that. Bite Mark says, I told my kid that burning things can make it better. She told me I shouldn't set fires. Well,
don't listen to your kid. They're wrong. Okay. Sometimes listen to your kid. Like, I've had kids a lot of kids set fire to the bathroom garbage. Like, I've had 3 clients who their parents are like, there was smoke pouring out of the bathroom because the garbage was on fire.
Oh my gosh.
Don't set your bathroom garbage on fire, but like, go outside. Do it outside. Do that. Or if you have a fireplace, set your fireplace on fire. Find safe places to put things on fire and like have water on hand.
Yes. Yeah. There you go.
Safely. Yeah, no, fire can definitely be cathartic.
Safely set things. Oh, Fee says she's a Slytherin. Holla.
What up? I have friends in every single house, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
I like it. Slay says, I really didn't read into either of the 2 series. See, I just offended the whole stream. Oh, I like it. Okay, so, the next thing I was going to ask you is kind of what do you consider a success with a client, but I feel like part of that is what you just described, that piece of helping them let go. Is there anything else that you would consider success with a client to kind of look like at the end of therapy, or because I don't know if therapy ever ends, but
sometimes therapy ends. I have had to end therapy, and I have ended it on good notes, and I've ended it on bad notes. Sometimes insurance goes, hey, bye, and they just cut out, and the insurance is gone. And what really sucks is I had to tell a kid once, because they had lost a therapist before, and it was really difficult. I said, you know what? I am never going to leave you surprised because of anything you've done or anything I've done. If I have to leave suddenly, it is because the adults in charge at the insurance company did a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen. I want you to have a good transition. And then the insurance company did a bad thing.
Yeah. So
that really helped and made me feel great. But I've had kids. I actually just graduated a kid 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. It was super exciting. And they had been a hot mess. This was a young kid, really, really struggling. Like, they could not function. And when I left, she's still doing her outpatient therapy, but she doesn't need me in the home anymore. Parents are doing better. The kid is doing better. Are they great? They're not perfect, but they're definitely doing better, and they feel more confident in their ability to take care of themselves and to do what they need to do. So as long as a family feels good about it, I feel good about it. And I've had families where they're like, we're not ready. And I'm like, yeah, you are. And here's proof. Like, you don't need me anymore. This is why I'm leaving. And one of the things that we do at my agency is we call it a graduation, because you've worked really hard. You've earned this. You are graduating. And we throw a party. So they get little certificates that we print up and we laminate because we're adorable. I had a kid. Let's see, what kind of graduations have I had? I had one family who wanted ice cream sundae. So we had an ice cream sundae party. I had another kid teenage boy, wanted $20 worth of chicken nuggets.
Nice.
That's what he wanted. He enjoyed it.
I have a 17-year-old who would probably love that.
Yeah, $20 worth of chicken nuggets.
Yes.
Must be a 17-year-old thing. I don't know. I've had kids we did decorating cupcakes. Really, it's, we go to the kid and we're like, hey, what would you want to do to celebrate your graduation? The one that I just had 2 weeks ago, we had ice cream, we made slime, and we painted our nails.
Nice.
So yeah, we had fun, and then our agency actually helped send the kid to horse camp for a week, which was super cool.
Yeah.
And I got texted pictures, even though we had closed the week before, and it was very cute, and I almost died.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Firefighter dad, Girl Scout from Daisy to Senior, very safe about setting her fires. Yes. That is excellent. Okay, so yeah, health insurance. I was in tears just a few weeks ago because I got a call from the company that runs my therapist's office is like a group kind of thing, and it's several different therapists. Yeah. And they were like, "Hey, you owe us thousands of dollars for your 2018 sessions because your insurance says they're not covering it."
So good.
And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what? I can't do that."
No.
So I called my insurance, and they were like, "Oh yeah, well it looks like your provider wasn't actually covered." And I'm going, no. But I spent hours on the phone, and I'm still dealing with it. Like last week, my therapist brought up, "Hey, corporate says I have to ask you about this thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still talking to corporate. I'm still talking to the health insurance, but it's down to like $100 now." So I'm going, it's probably as good as it's gonna get. Yeah, but for people, especially people who have a difficult time with confrontation, which we've talked about before, like I had to really get on the phone, but up in their face and be like, "No, absolutely not. This is not right. What y'all are doing is not right." And I don't know how some people do it, but yes, health insurance is bullshit a lot of the time.
So I am kind of blessed because I work in Massachusetts. And I don't know how much y'all know about Obamacare, but we invented it. So was the first place to invent the, like, everyone gets health insurance no matter what. And if you can't afford it, too bad. You just apply and we give it to you. So all of the kids that I have health insurance, and they all have it through the state. We don't actually take any private insurance. We only take the state insurance. And even if you have private insurance, you can get state insurance as a secondary in order to get our services. And that, unfortunately, is because of a lawsuit. It's the Rosie D lawsuit, if you're interested in looking it up. Rosie D was a little girl who needed services, and she did not get access to them. And it was really bad. And so there was a lawsuit that invented the program that I currently work for, which is CBHI, and that's the Children's Behavioral Health Initiative. And it is to ensure that every child in the state of Massachusetts that needs mental health services has access to them.
Oh, that's great.
That doesn't exist in most states.
Yeah.
And I hate it. And I mean, I had a family member who came to me and said, "Hey, my kid is a disaster. What do I do?" And I was like, "Move to Massachusetts and get this great in-home therapy program." Yeah. But it's hard because, I mean, even in Connecticut, my mom is a teacher down in Connecticut, and she works with a lot of kids, and they have a lot of problems because they're teenagers. And she'll call me up every once in a while and go, "Hey, this kid needs help. Like, what do I do?" And I was like, "Make them move to Massachusetts and give them the help they need because it doesn't exist in Connecticut." Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
And it's hard because in-home therapy is an awesome. I think it's the best. Because if you think about it, like, where do you feel most comfortable? Is it in a stranger's office, or is it in your own home?
Right, of course, in your own home, yeah.
Yeah, and so you're going to act like yourself in your home. So I come into your home and I see what you act like. I see your kids losing their minds. I see them like breaking their stuff or throwing tantrums and throwing your thing. I see what it really looks like. And then you can go, "See, I'm not crazy. My kid's a mess." And I go, yeah, I see that. They shouldn't be losing their mind like that. You told them, "No, you can't have ice cream for dinner," and this is too much. And so we're able to really validate that and then work with those kids in that situation. I wish that it existed everywhere. I really do. I wish that it was an option for everyone, and I wish that health insurance was an option for everyone.
Yeah.
Vote, please vote. Tell your legislators that you want a single payer system, that you want healthcare for everyone, that you want mental health care for everyone, because guess what? Even if you don't need it, somebody you love does.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
they're not getting the care they need because of.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so if you could change, so kind of leading into here, but if you could change one thing about the mental health field or people's views of mental health professionals, what would it be?
I made notes because I have to turn it this way so I can actually read my notes. So those are two different questions, very different. The easier piece is the views of professional. Like I said, we're not all perfect, and not every professional is going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Also, we are people. We're just people. Like I said, I have my own mental health issues, like Lexapro 10 grams, woo! Oh, no, milligrams, haha, 10 grams would be a lot. But I am a human being. I'm not perfect. I give great advice. I don't always take great advice, but I'm just a person. And a lot of us go into this field for a reason. And that reason is because we have experienced trauma. We have had difficult childhoods. We are ourselves people with mental illness, or we love and care about people with mental illnesses. We all have a connection somewhere. And I mean, has anyone seen Kristen Bell's ode to her therapist? Yes, no, maybe. It's great. You should watch it. I love her. I really love Kristen Bell. She talks about like how her therapist must own like a really sensible car. The therapist car is a Toyota Corolla. Just so you know, every therapist owns a Toyota Corolla.
Sure.
I mean, some of them don't, but like they're getting some sort of money on the side to afford something else. And in Kristen Bell's ode to her therapist, it paints this like beautiful picture of like how perfect her life is and how perfect her family is. And it's not. Our families are broken too. It's fine. We work through it. We're really just people, and we get it. We've been there, and if we haven't, at least we've seen it. So just recognize that we're people. We have thoughts and feelings. It happens. If I could change the mental health field, a lot of it would be making sure that there's access, because there isn't.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, even in what I do, we have long wait lists. I just got super excited because I got a kid on a 2-week wait list for an outpatient therapy, or outpatient therapist. That's good. I also have kids on like 6-month wait lists for outpatient therapy, and that kind of sucks, especially when they really need it. Or when I don't want there to be gap in services. I need to close, and they need to keep their mentor. Well, their mentor needs them to have an outpatient therapist, or else they'll have to close. And if there's a 6-month wait list, I can't convince insurance to stay open that long.
Right.
It sucks.
Right.
So if anything, like just making it more available to the people who need it.
Yeah. I mean, I think access is a really big issue that I hope gets resolved soon. I know from when I went to therapy for a very specific issue in 2014 or 2015, like it was all right, you have this number of months, go. And that's it. Yeah. And it was like you had to explain to them what it was for, and so when I started going again last year, after some things that happened to my family and some things that were happening kind of in my relationship and just life stress in general, it was like I called them because I thought that I needed to get pre-approval, and they're like, no, just find yourself one and go.
Yay,
So I'm
Mom,
like, I know. I'm just like, okay, that's a really big jump in the availability
It's a
of
huge
care
change,
and the
yeah.
ability to go and just get yourself taken care of. Because if I have a cold, if I have the flu, I'm not going to call up and be like, hey, am I covered to go and get, Tamiflu
You're just gonna
or
go.
whatever? You're just going to go. So, in this, it was, I was at a point last year where I was just like, I'm going to go regardless. If I can get it covered, awesome. And then the whole thing of them calling me now and saying it wasn't covered, but they've backtracked. So stick up for yourselves. If they're saying it's not covered, stick up for yourselves, and see if you can get it covered. But okay, we do have another question. I've always thought of midlife crisis-y kind of urges as a bad sign, like get a tattoo. Oh wait, this whole list is bad for me. Get a tattoo, dye your hair, throw away your whole wardrobe and get a new one, etc. I've done all of those things. This is bad. This is terrible.
I haven't gotten a tattoo because I'm scared of needles, but I think they're super cool. And if I could get one and not have to get like stabbed for it, that'd be super. I'd get a bird.
That'd be good.
I like birds. I have birds on my shirt. They're little hummingbirds. I really love birds.
Birds are good. So how can I determine what things like that are okay and fun to act on versus avoidance deflection efforts that I need to re-examine the source of? She says I overthink a lot and get stuck on doing the fun things because I worry that they're the bad things.
So some of the things that you mentioned are harmless. I mean, and when I say harmless, I don't mean like good or bad. If you dye your hair, it's not gonna, typically it won't cost you a fortune, especially if you're gonna do it yourself. Just get some fucking manic panic or whatever and dye your hair blue. Great, cool, do it. If it's not gonna disrupt your life, if it's not gonna cause you to lose your job or whatever, and it's not gonna cost you a fortune, whatever. I've done it. I would really love to dye like half my hair blue. I want to do like a fade from the brown to the blue. I think that'd be super cool. And now I have a job where they don't care if I do that. Getting a tattoo, I would encourage you to take some time and think about it. And the only reason I say that is because tattoos are expensive. They're expensive and they're permanent. So if you are going, oh man, I just really need a new tattoo right now, take some time and think about it. Is it in your budget? Can you afford that? Or is this something that's going to like destroy you? And also like maybe you don't have an undying love for SpongeBob. Maybe give that a little bit of time. But like if, I've known people who are like, I survived my recovery and I made it, 6 months. Great. Yeah. Fucking celebrate that. You did a thing. You've been sober for 6 months. That's amazing. Hell, you've been sober for 24 hours. That's amazing. If it's something to celebrate a victory, go for it. If you need a change in your life, it doesn't do any harm to like give these things a little bit of thought and maybe talk to somebody about it. Not like necessarily professional somebody, but like go to your friend and be like, yo, so I've been thinking about getting a tattoo on my face. Okay, your friend is going to be able to be honest with you. Like if I have a friend who loves tattoos. She gets gorgeous tattoos. And if she came to me and said, oh my God, so I'm going to get this thing tattooed on my face, I'm going to be like, okay, let's stop for a minute. Let's think about that. Because that's a big change. But, if she says, hey, I saw this really gorgeous thing, or I've been like dying to get this tattoo done for like a year. Like this particular friend really wants to get her spine done. And when I say like her spine done, like literally she wants her spine tattooed on her spine.
Oh, no.
Grey's Anatomy, like everything, labeling and all that. Because she digs bones. Cool. That's what she's in. But she doesn't do it because she can't afford it because that's really expensive. But if she said, hey, I just got my first paycheck and I'm going to blow it on this, I'm going to be like, oh, girl, stop. Girl, no. But I might say, why don't you like save some of your paychecks, set that aside. And then like after, 24 paychecks, you can afford it and then you can get it done. You've been planning on doing it for like 6 years. That's fine. But, question question how it's going to impact you. You know, is this going to harm you in the long run, or is this really just kind of harmless and harmless fun?
Yeah,
we all have those urges. It's fine.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if it's something that is going to maybe impact your relationships or your job stability or something like that, then consider it. But yes,
Yeah.
Inkbox is a great thing, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've been dying to like try that.
Yes,
I do henna sometimes because that also doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, y'all remember Britney? Remember when Britney shaved her head? That was a bad impulse. That was a thing that she should have taken time to think about.
Yeah. So she said, see, I did that with my ear piercings, which was fine, but also my mom is always really negative about tattoos, too, and dyeing hair, I guess, now that I think about it. I mean, there's always things like Overtone, which is a temporary dye, which is what I use to do this little pink part on my hair.
Oh, cute.
So
I've seen that and I've wondered about it.
Okay, so I really like it so far. I did try a blue. No, I didn't bleach my hair or anything at all, and the top is its normal color. But of course, it would show up more vibrantly if I had bleached it. But I put it on kind of underneath in blue and purple, and then on the ends I did this pink color, and the pink came through really nicely. The blue and purple, you really can't tell that it's blue and purple.
Ah, that's too bad.
Mostly because I didn't use the one for brown hair, which I probably should have.
Ooh, they make one for brown hair.
They do. They have certain colors for brown hair.
No.
But it's nice.
Making notes.
I know, right? Well, hey, I've got a little notebook over here too, making notes, so it's only fair. But temporary things, and then if you like it, then that's fine.
Yeah, and one of the things one of my friends, so my friend who loves tattoos, also really big into sea creatures, and she's an artist. So actually you can't really see it, but like this piece right there, that one right there, that's actually done by her. You can't actually see what it is, but it's really pretty.
I believe you.
Yeah, just trust me on it's fine. She was thinking about getting a tattoo on her hand, and she wanted like a little octopus tentacle making half a heart and then like a heart making the other half. And so to decide whether or not to get it, she drew it on her hand in permanent marker where she wanted it, and she just went over it again and again every week to make sure it sort of stuck there. And she went and did that for a month and went, you know what? I really like this.
Yeah.
And she kept it. She went and made it permanent. And that was a way for her to decide if it was something that she really, really wanted.
Yeah. She said maybe my problem is this a bad sign? It's more my mom instilled these weird anxieties in me, and now I can't do what I want. I get that.
Yeah, that's hard. I was very lucky to have the mom that when I was 16 or 17, probably 17, I went to her one day and I said, Mom, I want to dye my hair purple. And she looked at me and she said, okay, you are old enough to make your own mistakes with your hair. And I said, it's not a mistake. And I dyed my hair purple. I thought it was great. You could hardly tell because I have, again, brown hair, like our lovely hostess. And I went with dark purple because I like dark purple. So my hair was black, and under the light, it had a purple shine to it.
Yes.
But I've done other colors since then. And my mom was right. I was old enough to make my own mistakes, and my hair was going to grow out anyway.
Yep.
So give yourself permission. Our parents do give us this luggage, and it's okay to look at that luggage and decide that you don't want it anymore. And it's okay to look at it and go, you know what? I appreciate this luggage. Because every parent gives you luggage, and sometimes you want it and sometimes you don't, and that's totally okay.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we have another question. Oh, Slay says this is a simple question. I just wanted a gathering, but my mother is planning a 4th of July themed party, and I kind of feel helpless about it. Am I being ungrateful?
No. People are going to, we as a society tend to make people feel badly about not wanting the things people give us.
Yes.
You know what? If you are not a hugger, and I'm a big hugger, and I go, oh my God, it's so good to see you, and I give you a big old squeeze and you're like, please don't touch me, why don't you want my hug? What's wrong with you? And people get really offended. And you know what? It's okay to have boundaries. You don't have to apologize for needing that space. You don't need to apologize for saying, you know what, Mom, I really appreciate that you want to throw this big thing. It makes me really uncomfortable. And own it. Own what it is for you that's the problem. Don't say, you're making me uncomfortable. Use those I statements. Mom, I'm really uncomfortable in large group of people. I really appreciate that you want to throw this big thing. I think it's really nice and really sweet of you. And also, I would prefer something smaller. Is it okay if we do that? Or, is it okay if I need to take space in my room, and just be alone sometimes during the party? You should not have to apologize for getting your needs met.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with all of that. I find it totally wild that people are weird about boundaries. Okay. I don't want that luggage. How do I get rid of unwanted luggage when I have what do people think about me anxieties? Drop it like it's hot? No. No, I'm just kidding.
And okay. So when I was in grad school, my friend with the tattoos, I love her dearly. We have been friends since high school. Since like sophomore year of high school. We met because we were both weeaboos taking Japanese together. And yeah, came away with that with great grades. I can have a conversation about how you're doing with like a kindergartner. But I always told her, she was like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? I was like, for you to go to therapy. And she's like, oh, what do you want for your birthday? I was like, for you to go to therapy. So one day she calls me up a couple of years ago and she goes, I got you a present. I was like, oh, what'd you get me? And she was like, I'm going to therapy. I was like, it's the only thing I've ever wanted for you.
Aww.
And so, I mean, really, really, there's a huge stigma around getting mental health care and getting help. Everyone could benefit from a little bit of therapy. I go to therapy. Sometimes I just bitch about work at my therapist, and it's fine. We all have stuff. We all get these little pieces of baggage from our parents, and it's okay to go to somebody and say, you know what? I don't like this baggage, and I need to talk about it and how to get rid of it. So I really recommend going and getting some therapy, because here's the thing. Therapy is not always a lifelong thing. You can go to therapy for 2 months and go, I'm feeling good, and quit and go, hey, I'm done. We did what we needed to do and we're good now. That's total. You're getting some love over there.
I know, this cat, I swear. He has just been sleeping like on my desk right in front of me, kind of laying next to me, and he decided to wake up and shift to mess with my cord here. So the next one was kind of, what would you say to someone struggling who's hesitant to receive care? I feel like a lot of what you just said applies to that. Is there anything that you would add?
Yeah, it's okay not to be ready for everyone is ready for things in their own time. I personally was in denial for 5 or 6 years. Going, I don't need therapy. I'm fine. I'm a therapist. Therapists don't need therapy. I know how to do all the things. Turns out, no, did need therapy. It helped. And so do drugs, but prescribed drugs, not other drugs.
Fair clarification.
I take my prescriptions. Don't take other people's prescriptions. If you need to take other people's prescriptions, what you really need to do is go talk to your doctor to get your own prescription. But just be okay with not being ready for therapy. And you will reach a point where you are. And if you think about it like when you have an addiction, people have to hit rock bottom first. Everyone has a different rock bottom. Yep. For me, rock bottom was moving and bursting into tears and not being able to function for like the rest of the day. And I went, my relationship is going downhill because I'm a hot mess. I should probably do something about that. because my relationship was important to me. And then, you know, I was having nightmares. My father passed away. It was sudden and horrible, honestly. It was a pretty tragic cycling accident. And I did not have the greatest relationship with him. And so him passing away brought up a lot of feelings, and I just sort of squished him down. And that doesn't work. Right. So I wound up going to therapy and processing it. And I'm doing a hell of a lot better than I was last year. But I wasn't ready for, like, my dad was dead a good 2 years before I was ready to, admit that this was a problem for me and that I needed to deal with it. Before that, I was like, I don't need therapy. I just need the medications to deal with the anxiety, because I already know how to deal with the anxiety, and the coping skills are not enough. I need a little boost for them to work, which was what my anti-anxiety was for. That gives me the boost so that I can use my skills and they are actually effective. So if you're not ready for therapy, it's okay. You'll be ready eventually, and don't punish yourself for that. And talk to people who have been to therapy. Find out what it's like. Talk about all of your concerns about going. Because you can sit and panic about it, or you can get some answer. Yeah. And if you don't know what to expect, somebody else will know. I guarantee there's someone in your life who's been to therapy.
Yep. Sage Guru said something that I really like. It's hard to watch somebody in a burning building running back and forth between the sink and the fire with their Dixie cup while you're pointing at the fire hydrant. Yep. That was me going, you could get therapy for me. That'd be super. Just, I want you to go to therapy, and that's your gift to me. Yeah. And it really is. It's watching someone try to put out their house using a Dixie cup. Yeah. You know it's not going to work, and it's exhausting to watch it happen. And it's difficult for you because, honestly, you probably care about that person. Probably love them very dearly, and you want the best for them. And you're watching them be a disaster. And, you know, it's the best thing that you can do in that situation is just remind them, like, there is help, and I am here to help you get that help if you need that. And whenever you're ready, I am ready to help you. Because you can't make someone be ready for you just can't. And I've opened with families, and they're like, oh, well, I mean, I don't know. And then they cancel on you. And then they're not really doing anything, and then they cancel again, and you go, you know what? Maybe it's just not time yet, and that's okay. Yep. I like that. Also. I like everything you say.
I'm doing my best. Somebody decided at one point to give me a degree. I don't know why.
Right, I like it. Okay.
It's weird because right now I'm feeling very, like, imposter syndrome-y, or well, I was, but, like, it's weird. So, like, I go in and I do my therapist thing, and I'm like, I'm a therapist and I know what I'm doing. But then, like, you approach me and you were like, hey, can you be a professional and talk to me? And I was like, I'm not a professional. And then I sit down and I do it, and I'm like, no, I actually know what I'm talking. Like, I'm not an imposter. I really do know these things. It's weird. Everyone experiences imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I definitely do, even in my normal everyday, like, so it's one thing to be on Twitch and talking about mental health, and especially not being a professional, which is why I have that command, right, the not a pro piece, because I want everyone to know, like, I'm not trying to present myself as a therapist, so that cuts down a little bit on the, like, imposter syndrome kind of thing. But even in my actual day job, where I have been doing this for years, I have a degree to support it. I have the work history to support it. I am really good at my job. Sometimes I'm like, wait, why are they trusting me to do this? Guys, what am I doing?
Yes, right. Yeah, and I'm the same way. And honestly, sometimes, and I'm sure you feel this too, I will sometimes walk into my supervisor's office, and I'm like, hey, I need an adult. And she looks at me and she goes, I'm like, no, like I need an adultier adult.
Adultier adult.
Goes, okay, yes, all right, what do you need help with? And I'm like, this thing that I don't know what to do with.
I like that, adultier. I need an adultier adult. I might actually use that at work tomorrow.
You should. People will give you weird looks, and that's totally cool.
Okay, so I have a question from an anonymous user that was sent to me separately. So, how do you deal with a childhood where both parents never got along and almost literally killed each other? You had to save one from the other when they almost died and had to call the police. And if this is too specific for you, you're welcome to kind of refer it out. But if you have any tips for that.
Trauma therapy, because I can tell you right now, that is trauma. If that is something that is still haunting, that's trauma.
Yeah.
That is a traumatic event. Hearing about that, like, I know I wouldn't have been able to handle that. And especially if you were a child at that point, that was probably trauma. And you might have PTSD. And there's some things that you can do to sort of cope with it. But honestly, the best way to get through it, because we don't get over things, we get through them. There's a very strong distinction there.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't let people tell you to get over it. You're not going to get over your depression. You're not going to get over your anxiety. You're not going to get over your trauma. You are going to get through it. You are going to process it, work your way through it, and you're going to come out the other end. And you know, that to me screams trauma. And there are a lot of different therapies that can process that and really explore what that has meant for you, for your life, because trauma creates literal physical changes in your body. Like, your brain rewires itself based on your trauma. And this is something that we have researched. We have done so much, like, studying of the brains of children who have been traumatized and like similar trauma. So there's a really great book, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. It is all trauma. It is kind of a tough read, not as tough as A Child Called It. That's painful. But it really goes into some childhood trauma, like things like children who were in cults. So if you think of what is his name? The guy who drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh. Okay.
Do we all know what I'm talking about? Do we all remember?
In the one in Waco, was that the Jonestown? No.
Something like that, yeah. But it was like they go into like that sort of thing where there were children who survived that. They all had the same experience. They all lived the same experience, and their brains all changed in very similar ways. You know, as much as we say, oh yeah, trauma, it's just a mental thing. No, it's a physical thing. It creates literal changes in the synapses in your brain. You function differently, and it has a lasting impact. And it honestly, it can cause significant health issues, like real physical health issues, if it's not dealt with. So I would strongly encourage you to look into seeing somebody to process through that trauma, and really work through it and figure out how it's affected you and how you can get through it.
Yeah, I think that's great. So it was Jonestown. I'm sorry, I'm Googling at the same time because I was trying to figure out what the Davidian compound that I was remembering was, and it was different.
Yeah, Jim Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waco was a fire. Yes.
Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And weirdly enough, that stuff still happens. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, trauma happens all the time. Oh, my favorite murder. Oh no, my murder podcast that I love. What is your favorite?
I think it is podcast? My favorite murder. Isn't it my favorite murder?
I listened to the first episode and I was really like, oh, you guys aren't really well. That's kind of lame. But then I realized I was informed recently that I need to just skip the first like couple episodes and like just jump into the meat of it, because, oh boy, do I love myself some true crime. The Man in the Window is spooky AF, and y'all should listen.
I like it.
Yeah, so but yeah, no, and everyone's trauma is different. So like something that may have been traumatic for me isn't going to be traumatic for you.
Yeah. Well, I like that you brought that up in the context of PTSD also, because we've talked about trauma in a way of, a lot of people, when you hear PTSD, you think about combat trauma, but really there's a whole list of things that PTSD can be from, and it's not just related to combat. So I'm glad to hear you bring that up kind of in that context.
Oh, yeah. I've had 4-year-olds with PTSD, and I guarantee they did not go to war.
Right.
And actually, one of the things that we're dealing with a lot now, and kind of topical here, is and I might push buttons here, concentration camps. The concentration camps down at our border. Those kids are experiencing trauma. We are actively traumatizing those children. And as a therapist and as someone who does trauma work with children, it breaks my heart and it crushes my soul that we are actively harming these kids because they are trying to get a better life and we are destroying. And it's hard. But I mean, all of those things, some of those kids are going to come out and they're going to be great. And that's good for them. And some of them are going to come out and be utterly destroyed. And, we really have to do the best we can to help prevent these things from happening. Not just in the big context of these detention centers and concentration camps, but also in, being a safe person for a kid to talk to. Because someday, some child that you know is going to get hurt, whether it is by another person, whether it's, bullying or their house burns down or whatever it is, kids and we as adults in their lives, we have to be people that they can trust to share that with and who will believe them. Because everyone can experience PTSD. You don't have to go to war for it.
Yeah. And Finn, you're right. Combat trauma is really shitty too. I wasn't trying to say that PTSD shouldn't be for combat trauma. It absolutely should. Like,
it's for real.
Yes. Just want to be real clear. I wasn't saying that is not a thing or that is not super shitty. Just
the thing that drives me nuts about combat trauma is that all those great vets on the street that are homeless, they probably have PTSD and it's not being addressed because the military likes to pretend it's not. Yeah. That's cool.
Okay, if someone comes in expecting a miracle cure or a one-session cure, what do you say to them, and what do you hope for them also?
I'm not a magician. I'm just not. Like, I cannot fix you overnight. And, we'll say, because I have plenty of families that are like, well, you need to fix my kid. Honestly, like, there's nothing wrong with your kid. Kind of the problem is or like your relationship with each other. I can't fix that overnight. And I tell them that. They're like, well, I mean, how long is this going to take? I've had families that are with me for 2 months, and I've had families that are with me for 2 years. I cannot tell you how long it's going to take because it all depends on how much you're going to put in. At my internship, when kids graduated, they got a block on the concrete. So all of our walls were like concrete, like, the charming dorms that we all lived in college, where it's just cinder block painted over. And the kids when they graduated, they got to pick a block in the hallway and they got to paint it. And a lot of the blocks said it worked if you work. And that's really what it is if you put in the time and effort, therapy works. Yeah. If you're not willing to do it, you're not going to get anything out of it. So, I really try to be honest with clients about that I am not a miracle worker. And I've had families who are like, oh my God, we couldn't have done this without you. You worked so hard for us. I'm like, no, I really didn't. Like, if I was working hard, I was doing my job. You're doing the hard work. And I'm just sort of pointing you down the right road.
Yeah.
So, reminding families that job is just to kind of be your captain. I'm going to steer you in the right direction, point you where you need to go. You have to actually walk down that road.
Yeah. So for us asked, does a therapist go to see a therapist also? So we talked about that a little bit as well. I know that thank you, by the way, for bringing your people here with that rate. I do appreciate it. But yeah, we talked about that. Yes, therapists go to see therapists also. Sometimes hesitate.
They totally do.
Hesitate,
and actually, that was one of the things that got me to go see a therapist, is that I was talking to one of my coworkers and she was like, oh yeah, I go see a therapist and I'm on an anti-anxiety. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I found out one of my other coworkers was on an anti-anxiety. And now I've come to like realize that like half of the staff at my office are on anti-anxieties. Like, oh, okay, this is normal and we're all fine. So yeah, no, we go see therapists. And it's super cool because, you know, HIPAA, how, like, I'm not allowed to, like, give you names and all of that stuff of my clients. I can do that with my therapist. I can sit down and go, oh, yes, so my client, Timmy, you know, we've been working on this thing and that thing. And, oh, my God, it's just driving me nuts. Well, she can't go tell other people that shit.
Right.
So it really does give you a safe place to talk about your stuff and also your work stuff with someone who gets it and also can't share that stuff.
Yeah. Fee said something that I really like. I always thought of my therapist as my toolbox. You can't build without tools. I like that.
We are, and we help you make your own toolbox.
Yay!
I have literally made little toolboxes with kids. We call them their coping skill boxes. And you take a shoebox, you cover it in papers and stickers and paint it and markers and whatever that kids like, because kids are all, you know, crazy artsy fartsy. And then you just fill it with stuff, bags of slime, little squishy toys. I've been playing with this. This is my Kermit the Fish. He kind of looks like a Kermit the Frog thing. Like, he's got like a Kermit face. So he's like Kermit the Fish.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I love these. I've got my thinking putty. So like, we fill their toolbox with all of these skills that they can use to help them cope with stuff. And then they can go dig that out when they need to deal with something. And yeah, I mean, we're kind of our own little toolboxes. We carry around our own toolboxes full of cool stuff to our clients, and yeah. Also, I love somebody mentioned that I'm like a quest giver. That's super cool, and I totally am, because I give homework. You don't just get to like. I come
like
to
that.
therapy.
I like the quest giver piece.
You get to go home with homework, and you have to finish a quest. Right now, I have a family who their quest is to speak each other's love languages for a week, like one time for the next 2 weeks. So, yeah.
I like that. That's a good quest.
Yeah. It's an excellent quest, because now they have to show that they like each other.
Hey! Imagine.
Who knew?
You guys, we have been live for 2 hours. Everybody take a drink of water if you haven't been drinking all along. Love Languages, such a good book. Yes, absolutely.
Which one? Because I've got the Love Languages for children, Love Languages for teens, Love Languages for couples. And pro tip, if you don't want to read the whole book and you just want to, because the books can be very religious, and if you're not a very religious person, it can be a little like, ugh. But you can go onto the line and just like Google Love Languages quiz, and the Love Languages website has the quiz on it that you can take, and you can find out what your love language is.
Perfect.
Without having to go read the whole book and all of that.
I like it. Okay, so what is happening?
I don't know. There's a lot of things going on in there. Something about numbers?
Yeah,
I don't know what these mean.
We have a giveaway going, and I think they're trying to enter it, but maybe it's not working. I don't know what's going on.
! Join.
Bot spam. Bot spam's what's going on.
Oh, okay. Lame.
Okay, I do have a few more questions, but I want to check in with you on time, see how we're doing, how you're feeling, and make sure that you're still comfortable here. If we need to wrap it up, we can wrap it up.
I'm gonna be honest. The rest of my plan for tonight was to go play Splatoon, and I don't usually go to bed before midnight. Not that I'm recommending that. I really should go to bed before then, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm actually the same. So okay, good. Well, I'll keep going here, and if we get some more questions as we go, we'll be sure to add them too. So if you guys have any questions for our actual professional who's here with us today, type exclamation point Q, follow it with your question. It'll add you to the queue, and I'll address it. But also, I am watching chat, so if you ask it without doing the queue, I'll see it too.
Frostbiters has a question.
Oh boy.
Hit me with it, brah.
All right, Frost, what you got? So,
will I play D&D with you? DBD?
DBD. Have you played Dead by Daylight? It's a horror game.
Oh no, I don't do scary stuff.
You don't do scary.
I don't do scary. One time I watched Chucky, and that was an interesting several years of life.
Yeah.
I don't do scary stuff because I have a really active imagination. I started watching Supernatural because I was like, oh man, but it's really interesting. But for the first year and a half, I would only watch it while the sun was up, which kind of limited the number of episodes I was able to binge at a time. Thankfully, I started during the summer, but like when winter came, I had to take kind of a hiatus for a while because, I don't get home till 5. Right. It gets dark at like 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Dead by Daylight is a really, I enjoy it, but definitely if you're playing as a survivor, which then you're being chased by the killer, and there is a heartbeat in your ear whenever you're being chased by the killer.
Don't like that at all.
Like, it really ratchets up in your head. But if you're playing as the killer, it's a lot easier because then you're,
you're just murdering everyone. Yeah, it's fine.
It's easier to murder people than to be murdered.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet there are a lot of serial killers that would agree with you.
Yeah. Probably.
So, weird thing. I don't know if this is common among therapists. I have a favorite serial killer.
Okay, who's your
Albert.
favorite?
He ate a little girl.
Oh.
I like to ask people. That's a thing that I like to ask people is like, do you have a favorite serial killer? Yeah, no, I'm just me. Just okay, that's fine. I'm weird. That's great.
I don't know that I have a favorite serial killer.
I have actually found other people who do have favorites, which is very exciting to me because then it gives me someone new to learn about.
I like it. That's good. That's really good. Oh no, what are we clipping? Oh shoot. Oh, okay. They're talking Supernatural. It's okay. I don't have enough knowledge to have a favorite.
That's okay. Yeah. You just gotta learn more.
I think it's okay. Okay,
or if it's not your thing, don't learn more. That's okay too.
Right. It's okay to not have that be your thing. It's all right. I really do like watching Criminal Minds though. Like that sometimes gets a little bit on the scary side, but more on the scary side of, oh shit, like some of the stuff actually happened and some of it really could happen kind of thing. So that's a different kind of scary to me. Okay. Yeah. Do you use tips or tricks to get people to do their best even when they aren't necessarily motivated? Or does it always have to come from within each individual?
So, in the long term, yes, it has to come from within. And also, much like video games, there are prizes. So, like little kids love stickers. Make a sticker chart. So I've done sticker charts with kids where it's like, hey, if you clean your room, I'll give you a sticker. And they're like, oh, I want a sticker, which is great because like little kids, literally the only thing they need to be motivated is a sticker. Older kids, it's a little harder. Sometimes I bribe them into like coming out with me, like, hey, I'll get you a coffee. I'll buy you a donut.
I will do anything for a coffee or a donut.
Yeah. I actually have a kid who was like, but I don't want to meet past because I can't meet at 11 because pool opens up at 11:30 and then I don't want to have to stand in line. I'm like, great, will you be there at 10? I will drop you off at the pool at 11. And they're like, yeah, I can be ready at 10. So sometimes it's bribing. We just bribe kids into meeting with us or doing their best or making an effort, and then that intrinsic internal motivation comes from that. So like, hey, I really like getting those cookies or those stickers or whatever, but also I really like how I feel when I do this thing. So we try to motivate externally while we build that internal motivation, and that the internal can build up from getting that external. So like if you think about it, when you play video games, you're leveling up, and you're leveling up, and you're leveling up, and it feels really good to level up. And there probably comes a point where you're like, okay, also this is fun. Like, I enjoy doing this. I feel good when I play this game. And so instead of playing just to get the stuff, you're playing because it's fun, because you like it.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, we talk a lot about, you know, a lot of people say, like, give 110% or whatever, but if you can't give 110%, like, it's okay to give 90% if that's all you have at that moment, or it's okay to give 80%, 70%, 60%. It's better than
fucking 20%.
Yeah, it's better than 0%.
If you had a %, fine.
Yeah. Oh, okay, really critical question here. Did you watch Dexter?
No.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. We have to end
No,
right now.
sorry.
No more. I can't talk to you anymore.
Actually,
if you like serial killers, that show is fantastic. It's great. It is about a serial killer.
Very good thing.
Yes.
Actually, the thing that I'm really into right now. So I love musicals. Big musical fan. And my aunt told me ages ago that I should start watching Crazy Ex. Now, part of me was like, women empowering women. I don't want to promote like Crazy as an ex-girlfriend thing. Turns out it's a musical and it's great, and the main character is borderline, and I didn't realize that. It's been about a week and I've seen the whole first season now, and I'm on season 2, and when I get excited about a thing, I like to Google the fuck out of it. And then I saw a thing that was like things you might not know about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Right.
Like, they were all on Broadway. The character's bipolar. And I was like, oh! Or no, I was like, that makes sense. I've seen that. I've read about that. That all of this stuff makes sense all of a sudden. Yeah. So that has been my current thing.
I like it. Okay, so we have another question in chat here. Do you have any suggestions for being more present in life? Like, I feel my baseline is being dissociated and things kind of go in one ear and out the other. All things, not just listening. And I don't know what to do. Is that a thing?
It is a thing. And there are things that you can do about it. Check out grounding technique. I joke that my master's program stole my foot twitch. If you've ever seen someone like sitting and just chilling and their leg is going, that used to be me. I had a little foot twitch, and I sat and I twitched. And that was not okay with my supervisor. And they're like, you need to put your feet down, put them flat on the floor. You are not allowed to, no foot bounces. And so I had to learn to be more grounded. And part of that was physically grounding myself by putting my feet flat on the floor. I cannot twitch my foot without thinking about it. So, like, if I say, oh, I'm going to demonstrate twitching my foot, I can. But I've gotten very good at being grounded and being focused about, in what's happening, that I've lost my foot twitch. And part of that was sort of that CBT, the cognitive behavioral stuff, really being mindful, practicing mindfulness. And you can do that. There are books that you can get. There are CDs, and I don't know who does that anymore. Things like things that you can listen to. But you can also just go on YouTube and Google mindfulness activity, and there will be mindfulness things that pop up where someone reads you a really relaxing mindfulness activity, and you just close your eyes and focus on it, and let the thoughts drift in and out. And just sort of practice being aware of your surrounding. If you start to realize that you're getting distracted, doing things to bring you back into the present. Deep breathing is one of them. Focusing very much on like breathing. We call it square breathing or lazy 8 breathing. So lazy 8 breathing is if you draw an 8 in the air, like a figure 8. Let's see if I can. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Cameras are weird. And you sort of
It's true.
breathe in at the top and then out at the bottom and in at the top and out at the bottom, and you just sort of breathe and it gets you in this pattern. Square breathing is similar. Again, like you're creating a shape. In for 4, you count, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold it for 4 seconds. And you just repeat that. That also helps with panic attacks because it forces you to be aware of your breathing and to slow down your breathing. Things like naming everything in the room that is a color. So like pick a color, whatever color, and try to name everything, even like in your head. You don't have to sit in a waiting room and go chair, ceiling, picture, cup, because that might seem a little weird to everyone around you. But if you can in your brain just sort of like pick things to focus on, and like, okay, I'm going to name everything in the room that's green, and just go through and try to find everything green, and then just like, okay, I'm back in the present, I am in my body at this time in this place. You're not going to get it right the first time. You probably won't get it right the first 10 times, and that's okay. You will get there. You just got to practice.
I think that's great. Okay, so your job and kind of the job of a therapist really doesn't sound like an easy one to me, at least. How do you stay inspired and motivated, and how do you battle compassion fatigue?
So this was an interesting question to me, and I actually talked to some of my coworkers about this, and we all agree we don't experience compassion fatigue. Therapists tend to be naturally empathetic and compassionate people. We just feel like I can honestly tell you that I love all of my clients. I'm not in love with them. That would be creepy and weird, yes. But I love them. I care very deeply for their well-being. And I mean, I told the kids that I worked with at my internship, they're like, you're just here because you're getting paid. I was like, okay, first off, no, I'm not. I wish I was here because I was getting paid. I am actively paying money to be here. And they were like, wait, what? It is a tough job, but we're such compassionate people that I don't experience compassion fatigue. Most of what my fatigue is just, it's like bullshit fatigue. It's the what did we call it? Hold on. See, this is why I made notes, because I forget things.
That's okay.
It's like management fatigue. Insurance fatigue, bureaucracy fatigue. We get really sick of like the bullshit associated with it. That like we have to do. We get that, okay, and they have to be in by a certain time, and they have to look like this, and they have to say these things, and you have to call the insurance company at this time about this thing, and you have to have this information. You have to get this treatment plan right now, done immediately. And like, there's this deadline and that deadline. And in the meantime, you're just trying to see your clients and do right by them. And it's like, boy, all of this therapist stuff is getting in the way of me being a therapist. Right. And really, that's the exhausting thing. The thing that keeps me going, part of it is my amazing coworker, who I guarantee she's in bed now. But I have really great coworkers. They are very compassionate people. They're people that I can go to and I can shit with, and I can, say, hey, this sucks. I hate this. And they're like, yeah, we agree. It does suck. And the other thing is the families themselves. So like my kid that I sent to horse camp, I'm so excited for them. I love that kid. I'm going to miss that kid. And I'm really glad that I'm not going to see her again. Because if I've done my job right, I won't have a job anymore. My ideal situation is to work myself out of a job.
Yeah.
Where no kids are traumatized, nobody is experiencing anxiety or depression, abuse or neglect or any of those things. If I don't have anyone to work with, I'm great. I would be so excited. So when I get like one less kid and I send a kid home and I go, you're done, you're better, you're functioning at an okay place, that keeps me going. And it really it gives me hope. And there are definitely there are kids that are disasters, and I do my very, and it doesn't work. And I can only hope that somebody else is going to be able to do better than I did. Or that they'll be ready for someone else. Or that insurance will not fall apart and they'll be able to get the help they need, and losing me was not traumatic enough for them to go, I don't need therapy anymore. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah.
And really seeing kids be successful is the thing that keeps me going.
All right. And so I've got one more question for you. And then just to remind everybody, if you have a question, you're welcome to put it in chat. You can type !Q.
Yes.
That'll make sure that it gets into a queue. And we will ask our professional, who we are so glad is here today. Thank you again, by the way. So
I'm surprised somebody wanted me to be a professional.
Well, I'm definitely glad that you're here for sure. Hey, that's my hair.
Oh no.
Okay, no.
I've lost the nope, hold on. I lost it.
Uh-oh. It's okay.
Oh, I've lost the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'll just have to receive things secondhand.
That's okay. Do you have any advice for people like me who want to talk openly about mental health but who don't have that background in the field professionally?
Just do it.
Okay.
Like you have your mental health Monday. Awesome. Keep doing it. And don't let people tell you, shut up, don't talk about that. Because no, they can shut up and do talk about that. And I mean, for anyone, since I started seeing my own therapist and having my own medication, I had spent so long going, therapists don't need therapy. I don't need medication. I'm fine. It's fine. That I really kind of did like a 180. I'm like, it wasn't fine. It really wasn't. And I'm not really fine. And I need people to know that it's okay not to be okay. So there are a lot of things that you can do, both as a professional and as a person who just wants to make the I volunteer with Take This, which is a group. Take This, it's dangerous to go, y'all know, and they promote mental health awareness among gamers. And one of the things that they do, if you've ever been to like PAX or Gen Con or any of those, they do the AFK room.
I love the AFK room.
I do too. Even when I'm not volunteering there, I sometimes spend time there just to color and like sit quietly in the dim atmosphere. The AFK room is a quiet space at conventions where you can just sit and color, and there are professionals who are there to talk to you if you need to, or leave you alone if you need that too. Mm-hmm. And there's water. There's always water. It's great. Because remember, stay hydrated.
Yes.
But they do a lot of volunteer stuff. Dr. B works with like actual game companies to promote mental health awareness among them. It's really a great organization, and there are a lot of organizations like that. So you can donate to these organizations. You can volunteer with them. You can promote the things that they're doing by, saying, hey, retweet their stuff, or, what have you. talk on Twitter, on your blogs, in your personal lives, whatever it is. Just talk about mental health the same way you would go, yeah, I broke my leg last weekend and it like shattered in like 8 places and the bone was sticking out. Like, you all know that you do that. We all do that. We all go, oh man, I had this horrible injury. But nobody goes, oh man, I had this horrible breakdown. I was crying.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Do it. Treat it like it's an actual physical thing, because in reality, your brain is a physical thing.
It is.
And your mental health is physical health.
Yeah.
Just talk about it.
Yep.
And if you talk about it like it's a totally normal thing to do, everyone else will think it's totally normal.
I like it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the AFK room, so I went to PAX South, and it was amazing to just like, you walk into the AFK room and you have been, and it was right next to the arcade and right next to where they had all the beanbags set up and everything. And it was just like so noisy outside. You walk in and it's just like a cocoon of just silence, and you can refresh without having to go to your hotel room. And it was really nice. I appreciated it so much.
Yes. And we may have run into each other and not even realized it, because I have been volunteering with them for the past year. I did South, I did East, I did Unplugged, and I am really hoping to do West coming up in August, September. I love doing it, and I really love that other people benefit from it.
Yeah, it was great, and I think it's really funny. We might have even seen each other. I think that's great. But it was nice to just go in and sit down, and you sit down, like you walk in and they ask you if they can get you some water, or they kind of say, do you know what this is, and just chill. I just sat down and I didn't even do anything. I just sat down in a chair, and after a little while, 10 minutes, somebody came over and just said, just want to make sure you're doing okay, and everybody talks really quietly, and it is so nice, especially for someone who, it's not that the noise bothers me, but all of the people right around me who I don't know and might potentially be interacting with, that's the part that it's like,
yeah. Okay. And they're super mindful of that, because nobody wants that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But it was nice. Okay, so we do have another question. Bite Mark says, I sometimes feel like I'm experiencing everything all at once, just all the emotions. I feel hyper connected to everyone else when it happens, but it's really overwhelming. Is there a way to be less present?
I'm gonna jump into this this whole theme of CBT. That could be any number of things. It's also very normal to sometimes feel all of the emotions at once. Most people have been there, and it can be really overwhelming. And like they say with Take This, it's okay not to be okay. Doing something that is calming for you. I know when I get overwhelmed, like I had quite the event when Oculus Rift was first debuted at East. I got to try out their flight simulator thing, where there is literally nothing to like give you you're in space and everything is black with white dots. Oh. There's no way to orient yourself, and someone is trying to kill you. And I finished that, and I stood very quietly, and my boyfriend walks up to me and he said, "Hey, okay?" And I leaned into his chest and I went, and he goes, "Okay, do you want to go sit down?" I was like, I didn't say anything because I was on the verge of tears.
Oh my gosh.
And he just walked me off to the side of the convention floor, and we just sat. And that was helpful, because at that moment I was overwhelmed. And I mean, I have done it before, where I see someone like losing it, or who has already lost it and is just in pieces on the floor, particularly at conventions, because now I go to those all the time because I have my anxiety under control, which is super exciting. And I will walk up to strangers and go, hey, are you okay? Do you need to go to the AFK room? Do you know where that is? Do you want me to take you there? But know that it's okay to just walk away. Like, if you are falling apart, just take a break. Go to a bathroom, hide in a stall, and, like, cry it out if you need to. Splash some water on your face. Whatever you need to do to pull yourself together to be okay again, however long that takes. And, like, bring your phone with you. If you're with friends, go hide in a bathroom and text them and be like, yo, falling apart, I will be back later. And they can know that, like, oh, they should come in and check it on you in 10 minutes and go, hey, you okay? No? Do you need anything? No? Okay, well, we'll come back in a bit. And just know that there are people that you can rely on and that you can go to for support.
Yep. And so I have also done the I just can't deal with you right now. Like, if you're okay with telling people, I cannot deal with you right now.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's totally okay to say I just can't with you right now.
And I do, especially if I'm at work, if I'm having to do that at work, because I get very, my job is just very deadline driven. And so if I'm on a deadline day or the day before a deadline day, like, I'll have people walk up to me and I'm like, nope, not right now. No, absolutely not. You know? And I do try to make sure that I follow up with them and be like, hey, I'm not sorry that I said I couldn't deal with you right now, but here's what was going on, here's why, and, you know, I just don't want you to feel like it was about you, because it was about me and my emotional state at the moment. She says, so Bite Mark says, it's not even just bad emotions, it's all the things all at once. Yeah, like, okay, so, like, not being able to me, what I kind of equate that to is not being able to not hear something. And just hearing everything all at once, just kind of like in TV movies, where someone is on some weird drug or some crazy thing where their brain is suddenly like, it's all connected. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that, like, if there's some way that you can just shut that stuff out, so, like, it can be really difficult. That is not something I have personally experienced, but I know that it happens. You are not alone in that. And it can be really overwhelming, because what are you even supposed to do with that? If you can find a way to step out, step away, you know, sit in a corner, plug your ears, and hum to yourself to tune it all out. Like, honest to God, whatever you need to do to be okay in a way that's safe for you. Like, you should not resort to, like, self-harm or, you know, medicating with random things. Try to stay safe with it. And if you can't stay safe, if you feel like you are literally falling apart, it's okay to call 911, because that can be an emergency.
Yeah. Yep. And, I mean, so Bite Mark knows this in particular, but you can call 911, they can send paramedics, and the paramedics can just talk to you about it and get it figured out, and you don't even have to go with them.
You don't even have to get in an ambulance. Yeah. It's okay.
But they will come, and they will tell you, they'll be like, no, dude, you need to go to a hospital. Bar none, you need to go. Or they'll be like, you know, your vitals are fine, and this might not need hospitalization, but, you know, do you want us to do anything for you? Is there anything we can do for you? And don't ever feel like you can't. Just like you shouldn't feel like you can't get help from a professional therapist, don't ever feel like you can't call 911 for something like that. Because it is connected to your physical health as well, and mental health is just important as physical health too. So
yes. And I mean, they're like, people make jokes all the time about, like, somebody calling 911 for something dumb, like, oh, they were out of chicken nuggets at McDonald's. You having a mental health crisis is not chicken nuggets at McDonald's.
Yeah.
It is a heart attack. It is a house burning down. It is still an emergency.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so I think that pulls or that closes out kind of the queue that we had. Does anybody else have any questions? And I just want to thank you again for being here today, Elizabeth. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I think I told you like an hour and a half, and we're at 2.5 hours. So appreciate you hanging in here for sure.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really
like talking mental health stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, I do too. So so awesome. Good. Stormcloud, hey, thanks for, and thank you guys for hanging out and chat, and thank you for kind of taking the time and asking questions, and I hope that you like this format. I'm going to try to do it again at some point in the future. So yay.
Yeah,
Fee says thank you for your time.
Thanks for your question.
Yeah.
I love talking about mental health, and I love people letting me talk about mental health.
Yeah. Thank you all. Sophie says thank you for your time and your chats and your candid and realistic nature. Absolutely. Absolutely.
See, that's why my work wife thinks that I'd be super great to work this with this one family she has.
See? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break here from being live, and I will turn on my cat cam so y'all can have a cat cam while I am saying farewell to our guest here, and then I will be back. So y'all go enjoy this little break, and I will give you some cats to look at, I promise.
Thanks, guys.
So we got to thank you, Elizabeth, and a thanks. Oh, you guys are so sweet.
I was able to get back. I can see people again.
Oh, good. Fee says I almost just waved at the screen.
It's okay. I can totally
fine.
see you. It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, y'all give me just a minute, and I will be right back.